Yeah, they were writing for the movie. I worked together with the lead singer of the band, Damian Avitia, and we both wrote the movies. I wrote the lyrics, and he composed the music. uh, and it was a process. Like, we didn't know how the songs will be during, because it is a documentary. So first we shot like all this part that is more unexpected, the stuff that we didn't know how it will be. When we already have a rough cut with that scenes, then we started to write the corridos with a rough cut already. So we knew precisely where can we place the song, and also to play with this idea, like we use the same location, so it looks sometimes like if they were there watching what was happening in the scene. That's something that I wanted to be also more surrealist in a way. So yeah, we did the songs for the movie, based in the corridos, who is the most traditional music in this part of Mexico, that is always about like stories about heroes, for the towns, for the revolution. Sadly, nowadays, most for narco corridos, or the most famous ones, for example. uh, so yeah, it's always about the heroes for the towns, and also tells a lot who these towns identify as a hero. And for me, it was very interesting that I found in these towns some guys that were actually composing songs for the pilots of the Baja 1000. So it tells me a lot, like this kind of weird mix of cultures that happens with this race, that is like something from the outside, and then this very traditional countryside way of living. Yeah. Yeah. What happened? I discovered, I like this kind of music. I'm very fan of corridos, and I discovered a band that lived in one of these small towns, where we were like traveling around the small towns doing the research for the film. We found these towns that appears in the film is 500, 1,000, 2,000 people living there, like small villages. Uh, we found a group of guys that were composing corridos there, and I discovered that they were playing the corridos for the pilots. So that's was original, the what inspires me to put a band in the film. At the end, I couldn't work with that specific band, but I wanted to recreate the same with these guys. Like, okay, I will place them in this town, and that song is not in the film, but it's actually something that inspired to put the corridos in the film. Mhm. I think it depends who you ask, because the race is important, like mostly for people from out of Mexico. Like, it's like one of the biggest races. Actually, I think this is the biggest race of this kind in the world. Like, they drive for 30 hours, and it's different because the people that comes mainly from the US to Mexico, uh, they are like trying to live like this freedom driving the cars, and this adrenaline, and this very powerful thing. But that at the same time is very invasive to the towns there. It's some kind of invasion. I see it as some kind of, or actually even a bit close to neo-colonialism, something like that, because it's like these guys going there, doing whatever they want there, and then they leave again. But if you ask to the people that lives in those towns, I think the feeling for them is more like to being taken into account, because this is the most isolated place in Mexico, one of the most isolated places in Mexico. Like, these towns is like 500 people, and then you have to drive like 3 or 4 hours uh, to get to the next village. It's huge. If you compare the size, it's like the size of Italy. This entire desert. So it's yeah, it's huge. So, and it's very there is not so many people there. So people, when they feel like they are taken into account on something international, something worldwide recognized, they feel important. So for me, was what I wanted to show in the film was this contradiction. Like, yeah, the race maybe destroys their only paths. They have to they have to communicate with the cities. They even kill some of the cows or the goats they have. But at the same time, when you ask those people, they still want the race to go through their towns, because for them it's like, you know, but it's the only important thing that happens here, and it's the only time people comes here, and it's the only time I feel like taken into account, and I see the name of my village in some important thing. So I liked a lot that contradiction. It was more or less what I wanted to show about in the race. That's what the race means for me. It's like this for me was I was working with this idea that the race is a analogy, a metaphor of the relationship the north of Mexico has with the United States, because we are used to see like only the way like Mexicans go to the other part, mostly people that doesn't have a word that has to work there, but we rarely talk stories about the immigration in the other way around, and it's something that also I come from those villages, so I wanted to talk about that. Mm. I think it also depends, because for example these drivers I showed in the film that lives in Santo Domingo Valley. uh, they used to be drivers, and they all knew each other. They are like legends for the kids there in the town. It's like, yeah, this guy was able to compete in a Baja 1000, or he was like this close to competing in this Baja 1000. But uh, um, yeah, so everyone knows each other in those villages, but also there are like two layers. Like there is like the main Baja 1000 with the big teams, like it's like hundreds of people, an helicopter that is following them all over the peninsula, like these huge teams, and also this kind of people that is more like the family car that they want to compete. So it also depends. Maybe they don't have relation directed with those like big names, but this kind of motor sports that happen in those villages, they all know each other, not because it's very small places. They all know each other. They even know like if I'm from a different village, and they even know the my family. Some of them was, you are the grandson of this guy. Yeah, yeah, I know about himself. So it's everyone knows each other. Yeah, we actually shoot for I think was 3 4 years. Yeah, but it was because we had different kinds of shootings. For example, we followed the main characters for a year, more than a year, maybe a year and a half, with a very small crew. We were like only like the cinematographer, me as director, and a producer and the sound recordist. Mostly like 4 people at most. Uh, to be like very close to them, to be able to enter their houses. We were like very close friends with everybody. And then when we started like to have like this whole arc, like the most personal story, then we jumped on a very different kind of production, like a most bigger production, because the Baja 1000 was there. So we had to put people like in the border, then in the next village, the next village, the next village, and we were like, at sometimes like 20 people like traveling and moving around, like driving from one place to another. We didn't sleep for 30 hours. It was like just recording the race. At the end, we started to record the corridos, to shoot the corridos, and that part was almost like a fiction film. We used dollies, we used lights, we had like more control. It was a crew sometimes of 30 people. We had a set, sorry, a costume designer. Like we started like to play more like big. So we spent like 3 or 4 years like jumping this kind of from a very small production to a big one. Actually, I think it's not so much. It was like 30 hours in total. Yeah, it wasn't that much for a documentary, because the we already had the structure since the beginning, because we all knew that we were following these people until the Baja 1000. So more or less, we had a very precise script for being even for being a documentary. So we recorded not as much. It was very controlled in a way. Yeah. Uh, I don't know, but I hope that you enjoy enjoy the film. I'm very curious to see the reactions on someone because as I say, that I'm from those villages, and for me it was very important to make a film that was connected with the culture of my hometown. Like that's why I wanted to use the original music. That's why I wanted to use this race, like the stuff that some of us are that live there is like, wow, why are you shooting the Baja 1000? This race that only comes and destroys the stuff. So for me, I wanted like to play with all the stuff that maybe we like and other people doesn't like. So we play with contradictions on my hometown. So I'm very curious to see how someone from the outside can see that what you can see. I hope we can be maybe in the future be together to watch it. I really miss the experience of being in a cinema with the people and having these reactions like no, like what is happening with these people that is like from very far away, what they think of our film, how they react.